Okay, and we're live.
All right.
Not live. Recording.
Welcome back to the Crazy Family Adventure Podcast. We changed up the scenery today. If you are going to check
I'm
this
Craig.
out on...
You're Brianna.
I'm Brianna.
And today I have a beer. Because I tell my opinion better after I've had a beer or two. So let's do this.
All right, there you go. And we have changed our scenery today because normally we are sitting inside the RV, but we have got this awesome site that we are backed into this river. So we figured we would change it up and come on outside today to record this episode. So,
Yep.
Woo, we're outside.
So watch this one on YouTube because there's a chance an alligator can eat us.
I don't think it's going to climb up that hedge, but yes,
Hey.
it could go swimming by there. So, all right, we will go ahead and jump in. So last week we talked about our thoughts after 2 years on the road. So this week we're going to talk about our thoughts after 3 years on the road. So when we wrote this blog post back right when we crossed that 3-year mark, one of the things that we wrote in there was how we really felt like this was our biggest year of growth. And the reason I think at the time we thought that was because we had officially become full-time entrepreneurs. So there was no more, income coming in really. Craig still had about 5 hours a week with this company he was working for back then. But other than that, it was all on us.
Yeah, no more 9 to 5 either.
No.
So the stability was gone, but so was the restrictions that came along with it.
Yes, totally.
So it was like a baby bird spreading his wings and flying for the first time without mama.
Yes, that's right. And I really think that looking back, we would have thought by this point in our journey at 3 years that we would have kind of had all this full-time travel thing figured out. And I think we realized that we did not.
All right, take your sunglasses off because I need to look at you while we're talking.
All right, no sunglasses.
There we go.
So we did not have it all figured out, nor do we have it all figured out now. So that was definitely interesting to kind of hit this point and realize that we probably will never figure out this crazy lifestyle because there is no real structure to it, and we like that part of it. So we are going to jump in here and share our 11 things we have learned after 3 years of full-time RV living with 4 kids and dogs.
And like always, the link to the article on our website will be in the show notes, so check that out.
Yep. All right. The first thing, we are very clear that unschooling is right for our kids. So we haven't really talked about this, and I feel like this probably needs to have its own episode or multiple about the schooling. So we will just touch on this and then circle back around to it. But we, with our kids from day one, even before we got on the road, have always unschooled our kids. And we do have some links on our blog posts or on our blog about resources for unschooling and also our take on it. Nothing too current, but things we have written in the past. So we noticed at this point, there's just a splash in the water. We noticed at this point that unschooling was really the right route for us and really was fitting in well for us, for our kids, for the travel, and that we just felt really good and confident in our choice to use unschooling as the option for how we are going to school and raise our kids.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about our lifestyle, like there's nothing conventional about it, so why start with school, right? And then also there's so many different things that we're able to learn on the road and see and experience that we felt like if we really gave that the time and effort that it deserved, then reading about stuff in a book would be just way second fiddle and not interesting to anybody. So
yep. And then I think, of course, people always have to ask, but what about reading? What about math? What about writing? So what we have seen and continue to see with our kids is that they are progressing in those areas. They are learning how to read. They are learning how to write. They are learning math without it having to be super formal. So again, we could talk the whole episode about this. So look for a future episode coming on it. But we will also add in the caveat that, don't get us wrong, we do also feel nervous about this at times because, again, we're doing something very unconventional with our kids and their upbringing. So kind of in a half-joking way, I will say to people that ask me about it, I'll let you know in 10 years if we're screwing our kids up or if it's a good thing. But so far to date, everything we have
experiment.
seen, so far to date, everything we have seen, it is the right route. And if we felt like it wasn't, we would make a change. So for now, good to go with it. All right, the second thing was we like living simplified. I'll let Craig jump in on this one.
yeah, we like living simplified. We like to I think it comes back to the intentional part of like how you live. So that means like where we go, how we live our life, what we're seeing, and then also like the things that we have. Like everything is very intentional in our life. Like before, in a house that was over 2,000, almost 2,500 square feet with a big basement, like it didn't matter if it was on sale or something, or we thought maybe the kids would like it. Yeah, pick it up. We have room for it. Now we just don't. So with all that, like the actual materialist stuff, like that actually is just like, it takes up space in your head, and it just clutters like more than just the actual physical space. It clutters your head, it clutters your life. So you simplify that all out, and you wake up in the morning feeling much better about yourself.
Yeah, and we think it also comes into play that it just takes up less space in your head. It takes us less time of your day when you have less things to manage, and just really have realized that it is a good thing. And also in year 3, we are now in the 23-foot Class C, so we went from the 39-foot motorhome down to the 23-foot Class C, so we had to like do another repurge, another downsizing.
A massive one.
Yeah, a massive one to get to that point. And we're constantly going through and purging things and getting rid of things, and just realizing for everyone that it really works out pretty well.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong, like our kids, they like toys, they like things, just like any kid does, and like it's hard for them sometimes, I think. Like I think they, especially now, like as they get older, like things get more expensive, and like sometimes bigger things they want. Like this year they wanted a full football uniform. So like carrying around 2 shoulder pads, 2 helmets, like all that stuff. It's not minimal, but it also is like what they're into right now. So we kind of like go back and forth on it a little bit. Like
then we also downsize the things we did have.
Right,
so like
yeah.
they want to put in the football gear, then we have to
Right.
get rid of some things. And I also think that it's a personality thing. Like actually for like Malia and Cannon, the twins, they're not very into toys, and they never really have been. Where like for Carson and Knox, they do like to have more of the things. So it's always balancing to, what's going to work for them. But we have always tried to meet their needs and the things they wanted, but just had the conversations around, well, then we have to get rid of this. Or if we get it, we can't get this huge one, but maybe we can get this one, and try to figure out how to still meet their needs and not like deprive them of everything just because we want to have less things.
Right.
All right, and you'll see that if you ever park next to us, you'll see when our toy bay opens up and all the toys come tumbling out. I think the majority of the space in our rig and the weight is the kids' stuff, not our stuff. All right, the next one is we like being weird. So we just got asked before we wrote this blog post about being judged about our choices and if that would bother us. And the reality of it is no. Like if anything, like especially me, maybe Craig not as much, but more so now, like I'm all about like pushing the box and pushing the envelope and teaching other people like it's okay to live outside the box, and that's a good thing, and let's see how far we can push it. And I like being different. Like I like that aspect.
We got big rigs driving past, so
Diesel pushers.
yep.
But so I like that aspect of being weird, and I think that's a really good thing that we're for ourselves and also for teaching our kids. Like it's okay to be different, and if people are going to judge us, let them judge us.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I don't care if you judge me or not. I'm just who I am.
On that note,
All right.
Craigisms. We got to call those
you
something.
Yeah. Do you, right? Like, that's
Do you.
That's the same saying.
Yeah, do you.
Yeah.
Do you. All right, the next thing is being entrepreneurs is empowering. So before we got on the road, there was thoughts about being entrepreneurs, but it definitely wasn't high up on the list of why we were doing this by any means. But what we are finding is that being entrepreneurs is like really an amazing thing, to feel like you have so much control over your time, your money, like everything. Like so much more is based on you and your choices and your decisions versus having to do something for someone else.
Yeah, so I'm gonna like equate entrepreneurship to unschooling. Like as an unschooled kid, you follow your passions and you learn when you're ready and you do things at your pace and like what you want to follow. Compared to being in a school where you're sitting down and you're being told what to learn, right? Being an entrepreneur is very similar, where you find your passion, you build on that passion to make money, and like you follow like your own path with it, compared to being in a job. Oh, she's gonna sneeze.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Compared to being in a job like corporate or wherever, where you're working for someone else, you're being told what to do, you're being told what time to show up, what time you can leave. So the parallel is really interesting in that and I just came up with that like 30 seconds ago, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But yeah, would you agree?
Yes,
Kind
I would
of
definitely
like
agree.
the same track.
Yes.
But the funny thing is, so like I am not in that mindset at all, and I really haven't been. And it's funny because both of my parents are. Like my dad has always been an entrepreneur. He's super successful right now. He's had struggles in the past, but he's never done anything other than work for himself and own his own business. And you'd think that a kid coming from that would be, grab the world by the horns or whatever you say and do that. But I haven't. Like I was really good in school and I was really good in a job. So it's a funny thing where I'm at now.
Well, and I think for part of that too is like that's part of what Craig and I realized for each other working through this is that like having two like full-on entrepreneurs in the family wasn't really going to work either if we wanted to give our kids the time they needed and our family the time it needed. So since for Craig it wasn't something that came naturally necessarily enjoyed, and I found that I did really enjoy it and it did come naturally to me and I really like being an entrepreneur, we kind of made this shift that like the majority of that falls on me, and then like Craig's still part of it and does a lot of things to help me with it, but like the majority of it falls on my shoulders to be like run the businesses and bring the money in and like make the decisions and choices. So I think that was a good learning thing for both of us.
Yeah, it was. Like we probably would be divorced by now if we kept working together.
Yeah.
we don't work well together.
No, we don't. We don't when it comes to stuff like that. Parenting wise, things like that, we do pretty good, but not
all right. Working, we were at different levels of intensity.
Yes. All right, moving on. We like sharing our story to encourage others to live their dreams. So we have obviously over the years, if you followed our blog or your social media stuff or are now listening to this podcast, you see that we do enjoy this part of it. And yes, we are monetizing as much as we can of that, but we also do it not just for the money, but also just because we like to encourage other people to live outside the box and pursue their dreams and face those fears and to go for it. And that is why we try to be as honest as we can in what we share on these podcasts or on social media or in our blog, just to share the real side of it, not to make it all look beautiful and perfect, because it's not.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think it's to show that like after you have kids or if you have a bigger family, that doesn't mean travel and new experiences like we're seeing like has to stop. Like you can do it, and you can do it different, like having it cost different amounts of money, and you don't always have to do the one big trip. Like we're seeing so many cool little places that we're telling people about and trying to say like go check this place out. It's kind of like off the beaten path, but you'll love it. And I think that's a really cool thing to share with people because it kind of opens their mind to other things besides like Disney or like going to big cities and walking around a city. So
yeah, definitely. So we are excited to share, so we love it. So if there is something that you wish we would talk about that we haven't yet, please do let us know, because we would love to do a podcast for it, a YouTube video, write a blog post, whatever it may be. So definitely please do let us know. We're always looking for feedback. So those of you that have sent us an email or commented, thank you. We appreciate it, because we really don't know what we're doing here, if it's helping people or not. We're just hoping it is. So please do let us know, and let us know what you want to know. All right, the next one was where to stay. So after being on the road for 3 years, we have realized that we do like campgrounds. Like a nice pool, a nice cement pad now and then is really great, but we are not people who want to go from campground to campground. We instead prefer to kind of mix it up with doing some boondocking, maybe some harvest hosts, some state parks, some national parks, some thousand trails where we know we're going to run into a bunch of other families, and really just have a variety of different things. We do not want to go campground to campground to campground to campground. Like that just gets to be too much. Yeah,
and the reason it gets to be too much is that we have 4 kids that are full of energy. They like to wrestle and yell at each other and run around crazy. And usually at campgrounds, you're pretty tight and close to each other. Right now, my neighbor is watching us record a podcast.
On both sides.
Hey, buddy.
Behind you, too.
Oh, there, too. Yeah. Subscribe, guys. Like it, rate it, whatever you do. But yeah, so like you kind of feel like under a microscope. Oh, all right. I'm not gonna. All right, watch the video, guys. You gotta watch the video on this one. It's on YouTube. Okay, we might have to pause.
It's all good.
Wardrobe
I'm drinking
malfunction.
lemon water, so the lemon seed went through the straw and
Okay.
fell out of my mouth and went down my shirt.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, where was I? Okay. Hey, bud. Where is I? What was I saying? Oh, that's right. All right. Neighbor got me on track. No, I mean, it's just more like you're living under a microscope because people are all over, everywhere watching you. And a lot of the people that we come across, well, not a lot, I shouldn't say that, but some don't really like the kids' energy and the loudness factor that comes along with it.
Yeah, we've met some that are great about
Yeah,
it and
totally.
are super encouraging to us, but just obviously, like, it's not everyone.
It's
so.
not. And like we're camping every day of the week. We're not just camping on weekends when you get more of a party crowd and like a weekend crowd in. So that's why we like to kind of get away from the campgrounds once in a while, get out in nature, get out to the boondocking spots that are less crowded and there's more space, and we feel that the kids can just go run and be crazy and wild, and there's no problems with that.
Yes, so it helps to kind of change it up a little bit so we can have that variety. But I mean, the nice things about the campground with the full hookups is run the water, run the AC, like do all that. When you don't have that, you miss it, but then you appreciate it when you do, so we just like the variety.
Yes.
All right, so the next thing is comfort zones. So comfort zones are made for pushing, and ours keeps getting larger and larger and larger. So this is a conversation I had with my sister at one point when we were first starting, and I feel like your comfort zone starts at one point, and then once you push that comfort zone, which for us was getting on the road, the comfort zone gets a little bigger. So imagine like a bubble, like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the more that you push it, the bigger and bigger it gets. And I can tell you by year 3, our comfort zone was definitely much bigger than it was when we started. Especially now at year 6, it's even bigger. So it's been really cool to kind of see that like we can continue to push it. And it's also just like is more freeing then when you're willing to push your comfort zone. And I'm excited about what that's showing our kids, and that it's showing our kids that they're growing up pushing their comfort zones, and I can't imagine for them what that's going to be like as adults and what they're going to feel capable of.
Yeah, I think for the kids, what that means is their starting off comfort zone area, bubble, whatever you call it, is way bigger than mine was at their age.
Yep.
And from there, it just gets bigger and bigger. So, yeah, it's awesome. Like, it's a very good kind of gift to give them.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that.
Good job.
So, yes, high five to us.
Yeah.
Maybe we're doing something right. Okay. The next thing is there is always something more. Yes, this is a challenge. Part of the reason we have been able to do so many amazing things is because we're always pushing and looking. But part of the challenge of this is it's hard to take a step back and enjoy what we have accomplished to date. So it's all about being present in the moment. Like once you see these doors open and you see the world with these bigger eyes and this eyes wide open, it's like, whoa, there's so many cool things that we can do, and there's so many options out there and places we can go, things we can do with our business, with our family, with our marriage, with our travel. Like it is a little crazy. So I think that at year 3 definitely hit us like, okay, let's make sure we're regrouping and doing the things focused on our why of spending time with our family and traveling and like picking those right things. And I think that's something that we have constantly struggled with and definitely has not changed because there is just so many opportunities and not any structure. So it's all up to us.
So what was the learning point here? Was it that there's always something more, or it's to step back and appreciate, or like kind of see what you've done and appreciate it, and that
right? I think it was
both, or what?
Well, I think it was realizing there's always more, and then within that, not letting that take over and always make us think about the future, but instead stopping us to then say, okay, yes, there's always more, but let's be present in the moment and appreciate that time.
All right, I agree with both of those. So
all right, perfect. I'm glad you approve.
We are on the board, same page.
Okay, the next thing is we are still scared. Yes, I would think that after 3 years of full-time living on the road, all of our fears about this lifestyle would be gone. Not the case. We were still scared at that point. I think even to this day we are to some extent, definitely less, but definitely still there. Like anytime you're doing something that's outside the norm, you're setting your own schedule, your own choices, your own whatever, like it's scary. And like I think part of it is learning to live being a little scared, and that's okay. And accepting that.
Yeah, I think like we've built a life that is like everything is up to us. Like the way we make money, how much money we make, where we go, like all of that responsibility is all on our shoulders still. So it is still a little scary.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's just it's a big responsibility for us.
So something we wrote in the blog from this post when we were at the 3-year mark was, I don't think the fear will ever go away, but our ability to manage it has gotten so much better. And I think that's a really good learning thing that we had after that point.
Yeah, because your comfort bubble is big.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, the next one, marriage is hard and takes work. Yes, that definitely for us was a big thing in this year because of the whole entrepreneur thing we talked about and going through building the businesses, still being on the road, downsizing, and doing all of that. Is that marriage is hard, and we still had to make sure that we were keeping that a priority between us. And I think through this whole process of being on the road that our relationship has grown to a level that I don't think we would have gotten to in a house, because we are together so much and we have to make so many decisions all the time on the fly together, and there's nowhere to hide. So if there is an issue going on, like, there's nowhere to just tuck it away and go hide in like the man den or
I'll be on the
garage.
roof.
Yeah, but I can see you. I can find you
No,
easily.
I'll lay down. You won't see me up there.
But so I think that really meant we had to face a lot of things, and we had some really hard times like through that.
Yeah, and like you're just good at that naturally though. Like I'm not.
Good at what?
Like she doesn't let me go to sleep until we like talk through our argument and finish our argument. And I think that's really important, as much as I don't like to do it, because it just gets it over with and it's done, and you don't wake up mad, and you kind of just end it. So I think not having anywhere to hide is one thing, but you gotta give yourself a little bit of credit here.
Oh, thank you. I'll take it.
You're welcome, babe. But I love you. You're my traveling buddy. All right.
All right, but anyways, just to be very honest about that, though, because we met a lot of families and couples, and they talk about how they think they're the only ones struggling in the relationship once they're on the road, and no.
Not true.
Not true.
No, and the other thing is, there are so many people that stop traveling because it's just too tight of space, and they can't live with their significant other 24/7 in a small space.
Yeah. So if you can work through it and give it the priority and the time it needs, and one of the things for Craig and I that we really try to do is like have coffee together in the morning, like just us, or like at the end of the night, make sure we spend time together, like watching a TV show or like hanging out the two of us. Unless we're with a bunch of other families, then we're at fires every night, and that's fun too. But but we do try to make sure that we're always finding those times that just me and him can connect, and making that a priority, and making sure that we do find that in this crazy, fun, like awesome life we're living, that it is still important to carve that time out, just like it would be in a sticks and bricks. Like that's no different. So it's just continuing to make it a priority. Yeah,
and I think the other thing that we mentioned in the blog post is talking about the love language test. And that was pretty cool to do. Like what that basically is it tells your partner what you find valuable in a relationship, and like what you get the most value out of. And I think for a long time I was living kind of in this world of what I want is what Brianna wants. So if I do that for her because I like it, then she'd like it too. And that wasn't the case. Like I really kind of realized that her love language is way different than mine, like almost to the point where we shouldn't even be together. But no, then it kind of gave me some guidance on what she'd appreciate and what she would find, like useful or like valuable, and like what she would really appreciate.
Well, I think that's coming out for all of us, is like we're talking about as entrepreneurs, like that we're both very different workers, and then we're talking about for the love language being very different, and just how different our personalities are, but being able to work through that and figure that out and come out in the end better for it. But there was a lot of hard times and a lot of struggles and a lot that we went through to get to that point. And I think being on the road was beneficial for it, because it forced us to do it in a short amount of time and just get over it, so we could still enjoy what we were doing. And like it wasn't like one of us was running off to work and gone and all of a sudden the whole week was gone. It was like, no, like it needed to be addressed like that day or the next day, or it was just miserable for everyone. So I think it helped push that along, but then it also did make it more challenging because we were together all the time. So I would say to be prepared to know that going into it, that may be something you come across, is that some things come back up to the surface that maybe were no longer there when you were in the sticks and bricks, because you had more space and weren't together as much and all that. But
and it's funny how like a lot of these points tie together, because I feel like for me, when we were first starting out, like my comfort zone was not where it needed to be to do a full-time traveling and like having the stability of a job and like a home there. So like as that comfort zone grew, I feel like I became more relaxed in day-to-day stuff with you and with the kids, and like I wasn't like so uptight about a lot of things, and yeah, I think it translates to this point too of like just really seeing how hard our marriage is and like how much work we had to put into it.
Yeah, but I think it's also important to say, like, this is 3 years we've been doing this. This didn't happen in the first month.
No,
the first year,
no, it was
even the second year. So
yeah.
I think sometimes you get on the road and the first year is really hard. Like, yes, it's going to probably be really hard. And then the second year is going to be a little bit better, different other ways. And like each year you're doing it, it gets a little bit better and you learn more and you grow more. And like, it does just take time. So I think that's something to keep in mind too.
Yeah, it does.
All right. The last thing that we realized at this point is we still don't really know what we are doing. So yes, that is very, very true that through all of this, like, we still don't know what we're doing. We're still trying to figure everything out. We're still making decisions on the fly, just like you would be in a stick and bricks, you know, too, as you're parenting and your kids are growing and things are changing and evolving and you're an entrepreneur and this, that. Like, it's the same thing, but like, I think maybe on the road, someone coming on when they first start would think that at 3 years in we would have all the answers, and I just don't think that's the case. And I think we're okay with that, and that's part of what we like about the journey is continuing to grow and learn and change. But yeah, we still don't know what you're doing. So if you happen to see us at a campground, stop by and you can ask us now if we think we do now, and the answer will be the same, no.
No, and we're not afraid to say that. Like, I think a lot of people that are on the road for a long time, or people that are new on the road, kind of look to people that have been on the road longer for wisdom or guidance or like something like that. And it's like, no, you know, we kind of know how to dump the sewer without getting crap all over us, but other than that, every day is still pretty new to us, right?
Yeah, but you had the toilet blow up in your face and we were like on year 5.
Yeah, I did. Thanks for reminding me.
So that idea.
Marriage is hard, guys.
Once for another day, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so I think it is that idea that it is just, it's okay to not have all the answers. And we did have someone just ask us the other day, like, you've been on the road for almost 6 years, like, what's your piece of advice? And the thing I came up with on the fly, they're like not ready for that question, was just to let it go. Like, the more things you can let go and let slide, like if your kid doesn't do school for a month, they're going to be okay. Like, if you and your husband are having a tough week, like, keep working through it. Like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But, like, that idea of, like, just let it go and, like, enjoy what you're doing and try to find the joy in everything. And it's okay to let things slide. Like, if you're taking your stick and bricks life on the road with you, like, it's not going to be fun. Like, you're going to have to,
It'll be limiting.
Very limiting, and I think it won't be what you see people posting about, because I think in order to truly enjoy it, like, you got to let your kids' feet get dirty. You got to let them run around at a campground. You got to stay out late at the fires with people talking past their bedtime, and, like, all those type of things that, like, you just, to get the most out of it, you're going to have to bend some things and change some things to really, truly let yourself grow and your family grow and your kids grow, and to really embrace the experience and figure out what works for you.
Yeah. My piece of advice would be to just really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, all parts of it. Like, you gave up a major sacrifice of moving out of a home and, like, downsizing your stuff to do this, and it is worth it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And I think once you are able to appreciate it, then life will be so much better.
Yes, totally. So that is actually a wrap on that, because we did not write any more blog posts about what our experience was at year 4 and at year 5. And now we are coming up to year 6, so we can, of course, give you those insights. But I do feel like we covered quite a bit in what we talked about and included in here enough about where we're at now compared to then, that I think this part of it is kind of a wrap on kind of our insights as we were starting to get on the road, being on the road, and where that was and where it changed to. So if anything, we may interview some other people that we know on the road that are at like that 1 year mark or just past it, and kind of get their insights, because we had one of our friends listen to it, and I think 1 year on the road insights, and she said that it was really good and she really loved listening to it, and she said some of the things she totally related to, and some of it she said, no, that wasn't really what I felt in it. So I think we're well aware it's different for everyone, and we're just hopefully trying to give you a perspective to hear from someone. But we thought it would also potentially be cool to bring in some other couples or people that kind of hear from them, like where they're at with it and what their thoughts were after that first year, second year, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think the moral of the story is that it's constantly changing. You don't really know what you're doing. It's a crazy journey. Have fun and enjoy it and appreciate it. and it'll be worth everything you've put into it.
And like we said, let it go. Let it go. If you can have that going in your head, I think your experience will be much more enjoyable if you can just learn to kind of let some things go and just enjoy it basically for what it is. I think that is an extremely, extremely important process of this whole thing to do that. So that being, I'm not sure what the podcast after this one will be, but it may be us interviewing another family to kind of get their take on it, or we may jump into our next series where in that one we talked about doing the interviews with the kids to kind of ask them and to see what they thought about life on the road, and kind of give you a chance to hear from their mouths what they think about this lifestyle we're living. So thanks again for listening. We appreciate it, and we will be back next time.
Yes, rate, comment,
listen,
all that,
all
listen,
that stuff,
share
subscribe.
it. Yes, do that
All
stuff
those
for
fun
us.
things.
Yes, thank you guys.
Bye.